I have a sticky note, and I thought this was cool as a little like memory jogger, but it won't. It just keeps falling down, so it's pointless. All right, who's ready to go to Oakmont? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Tricks, you know what I'm talking about? That lettuce, that lettuce. Gotta get it. Gotta get it. That lettuce, that lettuce, focused all on the check. Yeah, all I want is lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce. Yeah, just give me the lettuce.
Let us heads. We are back with another edition of Please Let Us Golf, the podcast. Today you got Goldie, you got Golfberg, you got Adam. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning? Again, another
Mm.
morning edition. How are we doing this morning, Mr. Golfberg? The hair is looking as bodyous and voluptuous as ever. How are we doing?
I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I just woke up. I couldn't budget any time for that. But we're good. It feels like it's been a month. Thank
Yeah,
you for having me back in the studio.
yeah. Thank you for penciling us in.
Yeah, I appreciate
Adam,
it.
I know you got some time constraints today, so you might be all business. Takes only, no small talk. Are you doing all right?
I'm doing great. I'm actually looking out here out the window at my grass, and I'm not doing quite as well as my grass is because it's been raining literally every single day here. I
Well,
mean, I don't know if it's like is it like a El Nino year?
you gonna do any rough ball drops for us in the backyard to see what you're
El
practicing out of?
Nino.
I mean,
You know,
apparently they're getting the same rain in Oakmont, it sounds like, but
yeah, we'll see. But guys, I am excited because the last couple months, Mr. Golfberg, you just alluded to it. We've had a pretty deliberate pod schedule. We've had a
Mhm.
combination of guests coming in and out. We've had some major championship reaction pods. We've had a debrief of multiple travel trips, golf courses. But today's kind of a throwback. We are doing it as a little bit of a primer for Oakmont, but it's really more of a chum session for the boys. We are excited. It's Father's Day week. We love the dads. We're all dads. We do have US Open at Oakmont, lots of Oakmont content out there. So we're going to talk about it, I think, through a slightly different lens. Um, we're going to pose a question to you, a little professional teaser here. Are you too poor for golf? And before you just before you just tune out, there's a method to this madness because we throw ourselves into that calculus too because we care about your pocketbook, relative to the experience. But guys, before we get into business, let's kick it around the horn. I recently we haven't done like what's going on outside of our games, our golf travel professional game in a while. I took in a little golf entertainment this weekend. I checked out Stick, the new
Mhm.
Owen Wilson Apple TV show. Mr. Golfberg, I think you said you were going to watch a couple episodes of it too. I want to hear what is your initial thoughts from what you've consumed. Stick, try to do it spoiler free. I know you don't care about spoilers. I do, but just
Yeah.
generally, what are your thoughts and what are your
I
feelings after
I
a couple
prefer to
episodes?
watch shows from finish to start if I can, or just start in the middle, bounce around. Doesn't really matter. Um, Stick is interesting. What I realized is, and I don't know if I'm good enough to think this way, but the way my dad, who is a doctor, used to watch that show ER, it came out in the 90s, just "Oh, that wouldn't happen and that doesn't make sense." I feel like I'm a little like that with like I want to love just random golf entertainment content, but like have we pulled it off the right way yet? I'm not positive. But it's a cute show and it's funny, and I'm a huge fan of Owen Wilson, so we're off to a decent start with it. Um, it's got some wholesomeness to it. Here's my first thought is Owen Wilson goes all in on this kid, and maybe you'll give a little primer about what the show's about. He sees the
Mhm.
kid sitting on the range, and he's like, "My whole life just changed. Now I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna dedicate my life to this kid." He hasn't seen him putt yet. He didn't see
Or
him single chip or an iron. He's just like, "Man, he's smoking that driver like DeChambeau. You know what? I'm dedicating my world to him."
he knows what matters. It's all
yeah.
about speed. So he saw the speed and he was all in.
Good point.
So yeah, a primer. So Owen Wilson, former professional, kind of had a flame out in a dramatic fashion in his career, and then basically the show picks up, and he's just he's hawking equipment and doing some lessons on the side. As Mr. Golfberg says, he hears the sound of the strike from this kid at the range. And then that starts him down a path trying to basically become this kid's mentor. And I think it's released 3 episodes. And I literally almost had the exact same comment you did of it just sucks to be a golfer because you can't enjoy golf entertainment of like I love Owen Wilson as peak Owen Wilson in it. It's great. Mark Maron, I think I didn't really understand his character, but by episode 3, his character comes alive at some peak funny Mark Maron stuff. It's not for kids, so the Ted Lasso comps you're getting.
Right.
This is a TVMA show. It's not like a hard R, but they're dropping F-bombs left and right, and it's not really. It is wholesome, and I think that's why people are saying, "Oh, it's Apple TV. It's wholesome. It's Ted Lasso." It is not like the family's sitting down and everyone's just watching it. I just don't understand why they have to make up golf stuff. Like the professional telling the 17-year-old kid of just hit the 8-iron here from 45 yards.
Yeah,
you know,
Adam knows full and well that's a bump hybrid.
it-
Right?
Definitely a bump hybrid.
Yeah.
a Prodigy Junior would definitely be playing the bump hybrid in perfect conditions from 45 yards out. The hole outs thing, again, I'm not going to do spoilers, but why, like, hey, everyone's just making the shot like it's a fucking jumper. It's a corner. It's stuff like that the terminology bothers me. I'll say this,
But
though,
I guess if you really could hit those signs on cue, bouncing around just 225, hit it, 250, hit it. I'd be like, maybe this guy is worth devoting my existence
Life.
to.
Yeah, I
I'm
laugh.
gonna quit my job.
I haven't seen him putt. I haven't seen him chip. I haven't seen him play a round of golf. Adam, you look like you got a
Well,
comment. Have you
Yeah,
seen
well,
anything?
no, I haven't watched it yet, but I guess my one like big question about does Owen Wilson can he move it? Does he look the part
So
basically?
I haven't gotten to where they've really shown him hitting
Yeah.
shots, so I don't know. Now the
That's
kid,
that's something I always respected about
Tin Cup.
yes.
Yeah, he had a cool move. I mean, the unfinished swing, the unfinished symphony of Roy McIlroy.
Yeah, Kevin Costner
McIlroy.
between like baseball movies, golf movies, like he looked the part, like his
He-
swing and everything.
I loved his swing in Tin Cup, but have you seen his swing recently?
Yeah, it's a tough.
Oh.
It's
He's been
really,
spending too much time on a horse, I think.
we need to get him on Golf Forever because
Definitely.
he looks stiff.
He's running
but
the
I'll-
ranch.
I did have one note though, so I'm glad you brought that up, Adam. The kid's swing, you know what? I looked it up. He wasn't a golfer before this, which is
Really?
pretty. Yeah, not a golfer at all. Never played. So his
He's got
swing's
great hair.
Yeah, he's got great. He's you, man. It's
Yeah.
but his swing's good enough for the show. It doesn't look like modern elite amateur, but he's got a very intense focus to him, and it's cool enough. And I'm good with that. So more power to that kid for pulling it off, at least pass the eye test.
I've only seen the first episode. Does he start? Do we see some short game action? Anything else?
Oh, yeah,
interesting
they
from
get
him?
out there, they play rounds of golf.
Okay.
And it's just it's funny. And then the Mark Maron stuff and the kid's mom actually is where the comedy comes in. Like episode 3 made me like episode 2. I was like, I probably don't need to watch this. Episode 3, I was like, okay, I'll stick with it. No pun intended.
Right. It is kind of funny how they set it up. Like this guy's an old pro. He was clearly successful and he's got a yellow Corvette. But then they show it cruising down the road from a different angle and like, the side mirrors half hanging off and it's all rusted around one side. And
Yeah.
he's still living at his ex-wife's house, even though he's not allowed to. And I'm like, man.
I mean,
The
the
life of
intro
a-
scene again. I'm not sure.
Sounds
The
like
intro,
Blocky's future.
yeah, it could be. The intro
It's my
scene was
future if
funny.
my wife
him,
leaves me.
him selling, all of our futures. Him just like selling the equipment and the store. Like there's some good. There's definitely goodness there, but it's just the real golf stuff is where you go, oh man, why do we have to do it? But all right. I think we're good on stick discourse. Anybody else got any golf stuff they want to get off their chest?
Just on that same line of thought, like I'm nervous for Happy Gilmore too.
It's
Like
not
Happy
gonna be
Gilmore
good.
was my favorite thing. It was all until like Tin Cup was always my number one movie, but Happy Gilmore is as good as it gets. And I don't know, I'm just like just trying to rehash things and bring it all back, and now you got all these dorky pros in there, and
That's gonna be bad.
I just
yeah,
don't know any of examples that are comps that this works, where it's like the 20 years later, we're gonna, but we'll see. The good news is Netflix. So I feel like we've talked about with some recent releases on
Mhm.
another topic, like something about a streaming movie that you're kind of can passively watch and you're not going out. It's like, you don't got to
That's
pay
true.
$100 for a babysitter and $40 for movie tickets your expectations lowered. So as long as it gives you some nostalgia and a couple good laughs, you might go, okay, but it is like, or we maybe should have just not touched it. But we'll see. Hey, the jury is out, as they say.
As they say.
Um, Speaking of the jury, we might be the judge, jury, and executioner here. We teased out the question, are you too poor for golf? And because we a lot of our golf trips,
Yes.
one of the number one questions we get, even to ourselves, like, God, we were talking about an upcoming trip of like, here's just another. Oh, you convince yourself, hey, it's $1,000, it's $1,500, it's a steal. Oh, the plane ticket's 500, it's not 1,000. We're let's go 5 times. This kind of goes to a bigger philosophical question. We've talked about the rapid expansion of private clubs in America, the obsession with the private club model. There's all these grow the game movements that you roll your eyes at, where the kids on course and the this and the underprivileged. And don't get me wrong, we're not rolling our eyes at wanting those things to exist, but the people that are championing them then turn around, i.e., the USGA, and send an email out to everyone that says, "Hey, Victory Club, get your 2026 Shinnecock packages ready to go. Come see Shinny as it's supposed to be for just the low entry price of $3,000 to $8,000 for depending on which package you want." And look, taking some liberties here. I understand these are elite corporate packages, but the fear point is if you go back to like LACC, that everyone was really excited for LACC, and it was a total dud venue because it was all corporate buyouts, and they didn't want any. It was like 25% normal Joe blows with a day pass, and everything else was just corporate stands. There was no juice on the course. The crowd was not what you want for a major championship. And it looks like Shinny's heading that way next year with the obsession of just corporate build out buyout. So before I have some other thoughts on that, Adam Golfberg, what'd you think when I shot that text?
Am I too poor for golf? Yes, I am. Is that the question?
I mean, that is the question, but maybe elaborate specifically to this issue with the corporate takeover of the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same song and dance between US Open and the PGA Championship. Doesn't seem like the Open. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the British Open is more accessible. I couldn't tell you, but
At a minimum, they
You know,
they conceal the corporate nature of it much better. They're not selling, hey, the first tee box, like remember at LACC, like there was no one at the first tee and you were wondering why, like 50 yards down, there was a corporate tent. And it was just no juice. It didn't make sense.
I feel like you're being slightly un-American. We're well aware corporations are people too. In this country, it's a very important. Ask John Roberts, our Supreme Court Justice. I think he's the one who pushed that through. It could have been one of
Yeah.
those other,
No, it was one of
beacons.
those others on the court, but he was the Chief Justice.
Yeah, corporations are people too, and they have a voice and they have money, and apparently they're allowed to speak and buy up all of our golf tickets as well. So
Now, the free market, if they can pay it, the free market says. We all love that.
Yeah. It is sad, but it's also just kind of a reflection of where everything is going. It almost feels like, the third world country model where the rich just get insanely rich and the poor just get insanely poor, and there literally is no middle class. It kind of feels like that's how golf is in this country. Just the elite, and then it's not even the top 1%. It's
Wait,
that.
but then we're here and we're Spider-Man, like on the train.
Hun-
Just we're holding both sides
Captain
together.
America holding the helicopter, and I just saw
Yes.
that.
So because like we want, don't get like, we want to be on the C-suite
Oh.
side. We just want the other side to be accessible for folks too, right?
Very important point. Like nothing tests my humanity and kind of morality more than the country club model, because I want it. everything about it I love, truly. The tradition there, all the pictures on the wall, and just the
The
chillness of it.
exclusivity,
The
the lack of
exclusivity, and
people.
yeah, because it's nice to
It's
just
cool if you're a member for sure, but if
yeah,
you're not, it's not cool. It's
it's
not
not.
fun. It's not fun for me. Maybe one day.
We
But
get it. It's a fight of your conscience.
sure, there's the conscience part, but I was saying like with the 1%, but it's really like it's not even the 1% anymore. It's the 1%. It's not the 1% of the 1%. It's like the 0.1%. It's these new
Yeah,
clubs where
0.01%.
right, where it's like $250,000 to join, and then you get access to like the other clubs. And like,
Yeah.
who are these people? It's tough to even understand who is playing in that world. Um,
So playing in that world, it's also a reflection, pulling it back. So when we were doing, because let's also say we're all very excited for Oakmont, right? So we don't want to make it not just a Debbie Downer episode, but I pulled up that 2016 leaderboard, and the first thing that popped up, if you don't remember, Dustin Johnson won at 4 under, earnings $1.8 million, and that made me. I was like, ooh, that sounds pretty low for the modern standard. So just 9 years later, really 8, starting last year, the winner, we're at we're at 4.3 million for the winner. So we went from 1.8 to 4.3. I can't do that math in my head, but it's almost a factor of 3 growth there of, and that's reflection of what's happened. So
inflation,
yeah, it's just regular. It's just normal
eggs and
inflation.
gas.
And it's not just the winner. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't just going to the top. So the purse was 10 million and now it's up to almost 22 million. So it's over doubled in the prize pool, right? So Adam, you got a little smirk there. You want to go off on that one?
No, it just does not make literally any sense. I mean, when the purses went up with Tiger, that made sense, early 2000s, just a complete anomaly. But considering where golf was in 2016 and where it is now, what's driving that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's no like what Scotty Scheffler? No, he's not driving that. I mean, I know COVID brought in a lot of folks that were not into golf
And
into
they're
golf,
the
but
ones buying the Victory Club packages.
yeah, exactly. They're buying up all these C-suites, but
they're buying up the Myrtle Beach tee times.
it just goes all back to, I know we've talked about Live 1,000 times, but it's like all just this funny money that's just getting thrown around that doesn't make any sense. There's no like real, like legit revenue, it feels like, that they're generating, or maybe they are. That's why they're charging $8,000 C-suites. But
Well, what freaks you out though, man, is because that is it, right? It's the combination of the fake money that Live flooded the market with. It's the new TV deals that were coming online, so there was going to be some progressive increases. But what's scary is, like, at least this is the U.S. Open; they probably can recoup costs. But think about what the PGA Tour has been doing with their signature events, with the winners pushing, whatever it is, 2.5 to 3 million, and their purses being near the size of a major championship on a weekly basis, with the ratings, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, none of it passes the eye test, the smell test. And it's kind of like, it's a reflection of golf. Like, we cost relative to experience. And, as excited as we are for Oakmont, none of it just makes sense. I'm just still waiting for it to all implode. Maybe it won't, but
keep talking about that bubble.
yeah, that bubble has to burst eventually. And even with this, I mean, I don't get it.
Well, the bubble bursting too, and there's layers. Are we talking about like the public golf scene and just like the normal people, or are we talking about the pros? Because it does feel like there's too much money in professional sports, but I'm also thinking about basketball, where the contracts are absurd now, but it has done nothing to like lower the level of talent, and like it's never been better almost in basketball. I mean, people are making an absurd amount of money. It doesn't seem to be decreasing the motivation to be a ridiculously good player who can earn that. And golf, you kind of worry, like they used to have to play for decades to just make the kind of living that your family's going to survive on when you retire. And now you can kind of churn it out in just a couple of years. And are you still motivated to like get the most out of yourself, over time? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
that's
it-
one.
Well, if you want to play on the Champions Tour, you got to be really motivated to, eventually
Well,
get there.
these are the conversations I wish could be in the public sphere. Like you brought it up. I know some of this is getting down rabbit holes, but like the Champions Tour isn't going to exist because of the money that is, because it existed because it was basically those guys were graduating at a time where they could make as much or more on the Champions Tour than they did laying the groundwork on the PGA Tour or the European Tour. That calculus is going to be completely changed. It already is, but in the next 5 to 10 years, like Rory is the litmus. Like he's not going to go play Champions Tour. He's already said. So that's going to die away. And to your point of with the volume of money coming in, guys in their 20s, the great stories of the Phils and now, like the Rorys and these guys that have a resurgence and maybe peak in their 30s. Is that going to go away with guys just getting out of the game because of money? But maybe by then things will re-baseline and it might make more sense. But I don't know. I just
Like a good example, since we're talking Oakmont, could be Dustin Johnson. I know it happened sooner with him, but it always felt like, was this guy just going to tear apart the game of golf? He was so friggin' good. And maybe because he married into so much wealth.
yeah.
And then when he signed the live contract, he was like, I'm good. I just got
Yeah, they're-
paid and now I don't have to practice anymore. Maybe he never had the drive, but just never needed it.
So no, DJ is the prime example of everything like that. I said Rory, but yeah, like DJ was the first one where it's like, man, we lost a decade of DJ being like a dominant top 5 golfer. But so again, another DJ thing. Let's transition into a little more positive talk. So Oakmont, like, look again, endlessly excited for Oakmont. It's not just the high rough and it's going to be sick because the scores are high. I mean, this 2016 leaderboard is insane, guys. I'm looking for guys that missed the cut. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that were over 20 over or more over par, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
And I can't even in another 30 players that were 10 to 19 over and some big names too. The cut was at +6 made the cut. So, and then overall for the tournament, 4 guys broke par. So I do think people have a lofty expectation that everyone's going to be over par. I mean, just fast forward from 2016 to now, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be soft enough and there's going to be enough, maybe not a bunch of guys playing at DJ's 2016 level, but enough guys that are close there, but you might not be as shocking as you think. Maybe I can be proven wrong there. But Oakmont, its history, when you look at champions, it's like, so Tommy Armour, Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus, Johnny Miller, Ernie Els, Angel Cabrera, and Dustin Johnson, multiple major champions. But you know what's crazy about that list? If you just get rid of Ben Hogan, all those other names, all of them, it was their first major that they won, which is kind of an interesting, like, hey, we're not a betting pod, but so Oakmont is like for legendary top tier golfers are going to win it. They're going to win multiple majors, but they may have not won one yet. So I wasn't even prepared. I just saw that I kind of connected those dots right before we went live.
Well, if
like
we're
who
calling,
could that be?
yeah, if we're calling it, Jake Knapp. Let's go, baby.
Jake, let's go. Hey, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a legendary, but if it's who doesn't have a major right now is, it's like, I mean, the list is
That's all I
getting
was
kind of
thinking
small.
about.
I think we might have to throw that stat out.
Why?
Well, you just look at our previous major winners over the last couple of years. It's hitters only. I think we're just kind of in a new era.
The new era where
And-
no first timers are winning at Oakmont.
I mean, it'll be. It's kind of interesting with the restoration that Mr. Gil Hance did. I don't know if you're going to be able to compare it to previous Oakmonts. It may produce a different winner this year.
But
I maybe have a thought about the first winner thing.
Mhm.
And looking at and studying the course as much as I could. And I'm not like, I don't know this course incredibly well, but is it the kind of course where you just need this course knowledge like Augusta? Like you just have to play it year after year after year to figure out all the banks and the breaks and where to miss and where not to miss. Oakmont kind of seems like if you can just drive it on a string, you're sort of okay. I know the greens are like glass, so you're going to have to figure out, but you just kind of have to have your pace and your lag putting on point. And I'm not trying to simplify the game, but I could see if you just have your driver on point, you're going to give yourself a decent amount of wedges. and then you're going to have some mid irons, and then if your putting's okay,
You,
maybe you
you
don't
j-
have to have played 10 times to just.
so you just predicted Ludwig is going to win. It fits the criteria. Somebody that's potentially generational talent.
Mhm.
When he's driving the ball, it is on a literal string. Uh, he has the iron play for it. I mean, to me, that is. I wish he was in better form, but I would almost say if it was a year ago, Victor Hovland, because he hits the DJ cut, like that very similar driver at this point, power and shot
Yeah.
shape. And the cut, it works pretty well off the tee there. But Vic and Ludwig, they might be the two first timers that I would buck Adams. I know it's hitters only, but especially Ludwig. I think that could be. I don't think that's sneaky, but I'm rolling with my theory that a first timer is going to win.
Does he play enough of a cut on his drive? Does he?
Maybe not, but it's just so straight.
I know, but those straight lines scare me. You play
It's-
straight lines, and it's just all of a sudden it's too far on, just slightly off.
And-
Like DJ was hitting those perfect cuts every time, and he knows where they're going, and they stop before they're going to roll out into the rough. Like Bryson makes me nervous on this course. Even Rory, I don't know that the draw works. I don't know that. We'll see though.
I like Rory. I think, I mean, everyone says that Oakmont's kind of like a full test of golf. And I mean, I agree, but I do think accuracy with your driver is going to be like the most
It's the whole game.
important aspect. And I mean, you look at someone like Rory, that's right up his alley. But I mean, looking back at DJ, man, he on the front nine, like he didn't really play like super well. But he drove the piss out of the ball. I was watching like highlights from 2016. He drove it so well on
Yeah,
the
you're not going
front,
to take
kinda-
numbers there if you're in the fairway. You might hit bad
Yeah.
approaches, but the number is going to be when you miss the fairway.
And also a really important note on his win. Did you watch in the final round how he gets through the front nine? He's hitting the ball great, or driving the ball great, makes a birdie on 9, and then he gets to 10 and he hits a horrible drive. He like finally they even called it, like he did the infamous double cross, and it goes left. I've never seen a ball more buried in the rough, and he got to do the, what's it called, TIO.
Yeah, it was a bad TI. It was a
Oh my-
it was an epic TIO.
It was egregious because then he got this nice drop and he literally hit it over the tower with his pitching wedge, and they
Yeah.
had to explain. They're like, once you take relief, you don't, even though you're saying I was going at that tower, that's why I had to move it. He can still now hit it over the tower because he's got a better loft in his hand.
Yeah.
It was just, and then he makes an easy par, and that's the kind of shot that can just kind of tank your right at the turn, you know.
And normally I'd be going for the jugular, but DJ has the worst major championship luck of anybody. So I give him a hard pass on this one. Because this one too, they gave him the penalty like 2 hours later into
Right.
the round. The shit that happened was that Whistling where he got on the final hole. They said he grounded his club in a bunker that the whole crowd was standing in. So
His caddy was also right there too, but just failed to
Yeah.
notice what he was doing.
yeah, that's tough. That's, if anything, the caddy, you got to be right on that.
he's
Do you
doing
remember-
all
do you
this
remember who the
while
caddy was?
wondering.
No, who was it?
It was
Who
Joe
was it?
LaCava.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say. So DJ's like doing all of this while like trying to figure out if he's gonna be assessed. Was it a 2-shot penalty for his ball moving on I
Yeah.
think 5 green?
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
was like a absolute bizarre situation. This was the 2016 U.S. Open was one of the best U.S. Open. Just looking back at the last 10 years, like that was a fantastic U.S. Open. I mean, Shane Lowry started if you just look at the start of the final round where Shane Lowry's like 4 clear of everyone else, and DJ's back there at like -3, and then you look at where they finish, you're like, oh, DJ got crowned, right? Like Lowry just fell off the planet, which he did, but man, coming in, DJ hit some absolute like fantastic golf shots. Like everyone says, you know, once you get to 15, you're going through 15, 16, 17, 18. Like if you play that stretch like even par, like you've that's an accomplishment, right?
Mhm.
And DJ played it 1 under, like to win. I mean, he won that golf tournament.
And what is cool about that? Can there be just one man who survives it? That's cool. You're right, because the rest of the field just completely fell away. So while he's sweating that potential penalty, I assume his caddy's telling him like everyone else is just gone.
Yeah,
So
just
stay relaxed.
yeah. Shane's playing
Yeah.
like shit. You know what's
Yeah,
funny
well,
about
Scott Piercy was lurking, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Adam, before we
Ah,
say it was that great, I get what you mean. It was closer than it looked, but we had Furyk, Piercy, Brendan Grace, Kevin Na, Duffner, ZJ, Daniel Summerhays, David Lingmerth. These
I guess it
all
was
these
just
guys
it
that
was a
you're doing.
memorable U.S. Open. It was
I
memorable.
did skip over Sergio and Jason Day were in the hunt too a little bit. But you know what's cool about Oakmont? Other than it like the greens are so unique. You don't find any greens like that in America. But the course itself, as hard as it is, it yields scores. Like Johnny Miller has the famous 63 at Oakmont. I know that was a long time ago, right?
that's a crazy stat though, that
But-
infamous 63 was at Oakmont.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
But also
there was
like
only like 4 other players that shot like below 70.
yeah,
that
that
day,
makes
that
it.
final
He had
day.
like it was like 30 strokes gained on the.
Yeah, it
field
wasn't
that
like
day.
it wasn't like, oh, it was just an easy day.
was a
I mean,
cupcake.
yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about. So even looking back at the 2016 leaderboard, if I just go guys that T5'd, their opening round 67, 71, 68, 68, 68, 73. So it's not like, again, like everyone's shooting 77. And then even in there, Shane Lowry 65 on Saturday, Jim Furyk 66 on Sunday, hitting like taking lumber into every par 4. So it is, if you are in the fairway, birdies are very possible there. It's just the second you get offline, this ain't wing foot where you're just going to hop it up and roll it to the front of the green, man. You're going to pay a significant penalty. And of course we got the 300-yard par 3, which it's maybe a little overstated. And I think actually the pros, they don't like it, but it's pretty benign hole actually. It's a massive green. If you miss it, it's a par or a birdie. It's not a high variable hole is what I mean. Sorry, yeah, par or bogey. It's not a I could go for a birdie. I could go be aggressive here. A doubles, and no one's going to double that hole. You're either going to hit the green and 2-putt, or you're going to miss it. You're going to hack it on and have a 15-footer for par.
Yeah, I was hearing Jeff Ogilvy kind of talk about that hole, and he kind of like mentioned like when he got to that hole, it was kind of almost like you can not relax, but kind of like take a deep breath, because he knew like
imagine that.
Like
just go pulling up to the 300. Thank God.
Well, his whole point was like, you're either making a par or you're making a bogey. Like there's really no other, maybe an occasional birdie if you hit a really, really good shot, but it's not like all the other holes where like you got to be worried about the lurking double, triple out there.
That hole sucks.
Yeah, it's not a good golf hole.
The collection of par 3s on this course are just a little mind-boggling. It seems so difficult. I love the short, creative par 3s, the postage stamp hole, 12 at Augusta. It's just cool. Like, it's the time to get creative with golf as opposed to why just make it 350 at this point? What are we doing? It'll be 400 in 10 years, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's just a little. I hit a little bunk cut.
Yeah. It's not, yeah.
I do think the Bryson thing's interesting because on one hand, I actually don't think that this course is great for Bryson like I initially did, but the more I'm watching it, it's just so I know it's like be as far data golf, be as far down as you want. I don't think that I'm sure there are holes where that'll be the case, but some where that certainly won't.
The one thing, sorry to cut you off.
No,
the one thing I'm very excited about, I've talked about how, specifically at Augusta, the bunkers aren't really super penal. Like a lot of guys, I mean, they're sometimes aiming for the bunkers, but here at Oakmont, like this is the one place where like you can get into some really hairy situations depending on where, if you're like super far up in the bunker and you have to hit out sideways. Yeah, they're almost like pot bunkers, but not nearly as severe as those, but that's something I'm really looking forward to at Oakmont. Let's get those bunkers getting hot.
Yeah. So you talked about the course and the bunkers. I don't have that many more thoughts on Oakmont, but I do keep going back to this Carnage thing because people are obsessed with it. But USGA has deliberately moved away from Carnage setups the last 5-6 years, right? So I do wonder, like, maybe it is cool to throw in a old school, hold on to your butt situation every few years instead of just like manufacturing it. I feel like the golf course is probably hard enough on its own merits. I think it was a Lee Trevino quote
Do
he
it.
said. Is that what you were going to bring up? Sorry,
Yeah.
that I saw it. That he said, like Oakmont's the only course in the country that could host a U.S. Open without any notice, just like regular daily play. You could go host it. And I
That
think
actually That's the comment that kind of turned my thinking on it. I'm reading all these pros complain about the course,
Mhm,
just infamous quotes about it. And then to hear the Trevino quote, because he's cool, he's worth listening to
mhm.
for sure. And just this idea that it's the one place in the country, like right now, we could just go, get
Yeah,
our
but
bags and go play. And it's gonna, and so it's just not manufactured. It's not fake. And that is the cool thing. I think it's why you were mentioning you've got tons of friends, people who typically aren't talking about golf, might not even be talking about the Masters, but they're talking about Oakmont. Its reputation precedes itself. It is so clearly defined as we don't screw around. We're just trying to make this the hardest test of golf that we can. So I do think it's cool to do it every once in a while. I don't it doesn't look fun to me. I mean, playing it would be a treat, but I don't know that it would be the super enjoyable round of golf. Though I bet the up tees make it a lot different. I'm sure it's the length combined with everything else going on there to try to hit 6 irons into these greens, but you'd just be screwed.
That
probably
has to be a
more.
big time, like, national membership. I can't imagine, like, that being your daily club and just going out there and getting your brains
There's
beat in every day.
But I think
there's
there's a
some
bunch of
pretty.
them, and they love it. I think the members there are
Mhm,
completely disturbed,
mhm.
just total golf sickos, sick in the head, and they like to keep it as hard as possible, like, all the time, and it's just like
Yeah.
their claim to fame, so I
It's the
dig
Steel
that.
City. Bring your lunch
Yeah,
pail, baby.
lunch pails.
They're putting on steel greens, man. That's what it really is.
Dude, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
God,
Yeah.
we need somebody to design that shirt immediately.
Yeah.
Steel
ChatGPT could probably
greens.
do it
We
better
gotta
than
get
you.
that and get that ready for this week for sure.
Yeah,
That's
trademark steel greens. All right, guys. Any other Oakmont U.S. Open? Any Father's Day thoughts? I'm heading out to the beach this
Hmm,
weekend for a family week trip, but still don't know if I'll be able to participate in the Oakmont recap. But maybe, hey, maybe it'll be a dud, and we don't even need to do a recap, right? Maybe. What would be the worst case scenario? Is Joaquin Neiman winning? He won another live event this weekend. What is that?
oh,
5
no.
of like his last 10? Hey, and that live leaderboard was good when I turned it on and there was 7 holes to play. And I'm not kidding. There was 11 guys either tied for the lead or one back. So I was like, it's always good when 25% of the field is tied for the lead on the final day. That that golf course is really set up to separate skill levels.
I think
There's a
worst situation
Mhm.
possible is like a US nobody winning and then like making their way onto the Ryder Cup. Kind of like
Well said.
kind of
Yeah.
like a la who was it? Who was it last year
Well, it
or
wasn't
2
US
years
Open, but
ago?
Brian Harmon,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. He's
I mean, he's a
yeah,
player. I like him, but still,
yeah.
yeah, I totally agree with that assessment. I mean,
You know what? I'm sorry. No, go, Mr. Go, no,
no,
go,
just
Mr.
that
Golfer.
great tournaments are a combination of venue and players. It's very
Mm.
simple calculus, but that's why Pebble Beach earlier this year was so good. That's why Augusta was so incredible. So we've got the venue. I think it's gonna be hard. We just need the studs to come out and play, and it'll be a super fun weekend. And if they don't, it'll be like the other ones.
And I'm just gonna go one more time to the 2016 leaderboard. The thing that has given me pause of like Bombers Paradise, it's like Jim Furyk, Shane Lowry, the Mutter,
Hmm.
Scott Piercy. You do have Sergio, but Brendan Grace, Kevin Na, Jason Duffner, Zach Johnson. These are even in 2016, these guys were poofers. These guys are some of the shorter hitters on the PGA Tour. Maybe that is more of a reflection of this status of player in the mid 2000 or
Yeah, it is.
2010s. But still, man, like it really kind of shows me that maybe fairway accuracy this is a golf course that is more important than distance. That has not been the case at most Northeast bomb and gouge and Midwest bomb and gouge type of setups, but this I think this might be this will remains to be seen, but you might have some surprise not prodigious drivers of the golf ball in terms of distance be up there. Maybe a Brian Harmon,
Oh,
like you
great.
said, knuckleball it straight down the middle. Don't hit it high. Get it on the ground early. Use some contours. Keep it in play.
Can you use contours on glass or
On
does
steel.
on steel? Yeah.
It's harder. You got to shape it with the steel, bend it. Yeah, so I don't know. Also, some other U.S. Open, as our guy Tin Cup would say, it's the most democratic tournament. The qualifiers, I do give USGA credit. They've made
Not to get in the door.
yeah.
No, for the players, it's democratic.
Yes,
not for the
players.
patrons. But
Not
go
for
ahead,
the
sorry.
patrons. Yeah, for the players. USGA has done a really cool job the last few years of doing the longest day in golf, the 36-hole final sectional qualifier, of like broadcasting it. And I actually think bigger professional golf needs to take notice of. It's kind of cool with these ground level guerrilla cameras, and the crowds are walking with them in the playoffs. And there's like Max Homa and Cam Young, but then two randos that you don't like. It's actually kind of sick. Like, I would continue to invest in making that a bigger deal without a corporate buyout. And then you had the dentist. Everyone heard about this dentist that qualified. And then our local guy, Mason Howell, just from about an hour and a half south of Adam and I, 16-year or 17-year-old junior high school, shoots 63-63 at Piedmont Driving Club. If you're from Georgia and you've seen that course, 63 makes no sense. Doing it back to back to qualify for the US Open and breaking records as a junior, going to be a senior in a month, I get, or 2 months. Absolute, like, kudos, electric insanity.
He was playing the white tees though.
Yeah,
right?
they let him play up since he was
The
a
junior
junior.
tees.
You're right. I forgot.
It's the back-to-back Johnny Miller.
The back-to-back. Oh, dude.
Maybe he's going to be a first-time winner.
I think it's
Modern
a score
Miller?
you can only shoot when you're like 12 years old, though. Just
Yeah, like just not. Oh yeah. I just shot 63-63. Yeah, I just was feeling it. We have a little Father's Day reel. Mr. Golfberg and I, a little homage to our dads, more specifically to his Doc Pop G. Had some spray painted clubs on a recent golf trip, so we want to dive into that. What was going on amongst some other things and other stories. So,
well, since you brought up Pop G and since you brought up Father's Day, may I? Let's shout out this guy's. Did we do it on the pod yet?
Not on the pod yet. No, we did it on Instagram, but
Pop G just got his 7th hole-in-one at Red Rock Country Club, number 7. I was asking, because a couple of the members have a couple. I think the next person might have 3. So he's in legendary status at that place. I assume they're chiseling out a statue that they're going to erect somewhere by the putting green, or they got at least a nice picture going up in the hallway there. But that's just nuts. Now, and he didn't get his first hole-in-one until he was like 62. And he likes to remind me of that because I'm still on 0. But then he's turned out 7 in the last 14 years. And it was on the 7th hole at Red Rock, beautiful hole. It's like an 8-iron. Didn't even see it go in. The people on the next green are like, "You made it." He's like, "Yeah, right." But yeah, I guess if he does play a perpetual round of golf that just hasn't stopped. It's just going on decades now. So eventually balls are going to go in the hole. But still, I feel like he's a true legend.
7 is bonkers. I think once you hit, it's like major championships. Okay. Once you hit 5, you've separated yourself from everybody else who's played the game to you are the true Hall of Fame. And they really should get like mini Pop G statues. Like I think tee markers on the par 3s for the tees that like he would primarily play would be sick.
At a minimum. Yeah.
He's in Nolan Ryan territory, man. 7 no-hitters, 7 home-runs. I mean, I would be curious what the percentage make, like what's the percent, like, like how many has he attempted? How many has he made?
He's got to be well into the
but you think about
percentages at this point.
But to Aaron's point, so like that there is like that part of the calculus. Like he is playing a perpetual round of golf. Like let's just be honest, for like 20 years straight, you just golf every single day. And that certainly helps the 1 in whatever it is, 10 million chances or whatever, 100,000 chances of hole-in-one. But 7 times, like that supersedes the odds by far. Like that's definitely outpacing at a minimum. Maybe you do that and you sneak 2, maybe sneak 3, but you're not getting. And oh, by the way, he's had a hole-in-one on all the par 3s, right? At this point. So
Yeah.
he's got the Grand Slam.
is there
Got the
four-
Grand Slam out there.
Is there 4 par threes at
Grand
this
Slam.
course?
There's 4 par threes.
Okay.
Yeah, traditional setup.
Yeah, dude, and so that's good. We got the Grand Slam and 7 par. And what hole did he have the most on? Was it
7 is now the most. I think.
He's got
think
3
it's-
there.
Yeah.
4,
It might
3
be
or 4.
I think it's 3.
It's his green jacket.
It's
That's
green
where
jacket.
and 7's the iconic tee shot there. It's super elevated. You see the strip. We need a pop GT on 7 right there. Like this is where the Grand Slam of golf has been achieved.
They'll probably do it after he dies, which is horrible. Let's do it now while he's
Oh, oh,
alive.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, this just in. So if Pop G is playing every single day for the year,
Okay.
four attempts each day, that's 1,460 for the year. We'll
Okay.
multiply that by 30 years. How about that? 30 years of attempting this?
Well, it's his first one was 62, so this would be what is he,
Holy smokes.
77? So it's 15 years.
76.
So 76, so 14 years. So do that number times 14.
1,460 times 14?
Yeah.
All right, he's had 20,440 attempts at this.
Now divided by 7.
What you want to do? Let's do real math. It's 52 weeks a year times 6, though. He's playing 6 days a week. The course is closed on Mondays. Times 4. That's about 1,248 par threes a year.
Okay.
He's really been doing it every day since the pandemic. So that's like
Let's just we got to go back to 62 since the first
okay.
one.
So times 14.
Yeah.
So that's 17,500 or so par threes divided by 7. Yeah, 1 in 2,500.
Yeah.
That's-
and okay, so it's 1 in 2,500 and hole in 1 odds. 12,500 to 1. So he's outpacing it by 6 times almost.
By a
Five
factor of 5 or
times.
6. Wow. What a maniac.
And that's buffering in, like Aaron said, pre-COVID. He was probably really more like 4 rounds a week. Now he's like 6. But we're saying at best he's outpaced it by 5.5, but it's really probably more like 6.5, 7. It's pretty legit.
And if we can get this guy on the Golf Forever program, we might get him up to 10.
He
That's
needs
the next goal.
a few more years. That's probably a good way to end it right there, Mr. Golfberg. All right. Goldie, Adam, Golfberg, Fun Pod, Oakmont.
Yeah.
We can't wait. Father's Day. We can't wait. And as always, we'll see you next week. And most importantly, stay plugged. Peace. Cool.